Being trustworthy is not enough to get people to trust you with their business. But if that's not enough, what is enough? How do you get someone to trust you enough to do business with you, to give you their money in exchange for something that they need? There is a time-tested way to improve trust. Your competitors are doing it all around you every day, all day. And if you don't know how to do it, that means you're not doing it. I'm going to show you how to do it right now. Okay, let me guess. So some of you are watching this video saying, well, I have a lot of good reviews. Good reviews are not enough to generate trust. And you know why? Because you could have bought those reviews. You didn't. I didn't. But that doesn't mean that people aren't thinking in the back of their minds, what if these reviews aren't real? What if they bought them? What if they faked them? You've heard it before. I've heard it before. And it's frankly very rare that someone would buy them. But let's face it, it happens. So how do you generate trust outside of just having good reviews? Before I answer that question, I want to give you a scenario. I want you to imagine. Let's talk about trust for a minute and what it looks like psychologically. I want you to imagine a woman by herself walking in a park. There's trees around. No one else is really around. She's just walking in the park. And she looks up and there's a man walking towards her in the park. How does she feel about that man? Does she trust him? There's nothing to trust, right? We have to not expect someone to trust us, but we have to give them a reason to trust us, okay? So imagine that man is walking towards that woman. She's unsure of who he is. He may be an amazing guy. He may be trustworthy. That doesn't mean she should trust him. Hey, I don't want my daughter or my wife to trust someone just because they know that they're trustworthy, right? Okay, let's take this same situation. Let's say that man that's walking towards this woman in the park is walking with a little boy. And he's holding his little boy's hand. Is he a little bit more trustworthy in that woman's mind? Probably, right? Okay, let's take it up a little bit further. Let's increase it a little bit more. Let's say that man is a lot more well-dressed. He's walking with his little boy. He's holding his little boy's hand. And on the other side of him is his wife, and his wife is pushing a stroller. Is this person a little bit more trustworthy? Does this person walking alone in a park feel a little more safe? You bet they do. All right, let's add something. Let's say this well-dressed family, because now it's not a man alone, it's a family, which is saying a lot. Okay, we're talking about business. Let's say this well-dressed family with the stroller and the little kid is now walking with a tour guide, and the tour guide is pointing out landmarks and things in the park to the family as they're going through. Do you trust that group a lot more? You sure do. Do you trust that man a lot more? Probably. Let's add something to that. So this family is walking with the stroller and the baby and the tour guide that works at the park, and there's a policeman sitting on the bench nearby. Trust just elevated 6 levels. So you see how we have to make sure that it's not just I'm a good company and I have good reviews. That would be like that individual guy walking and saying, well, why doesn't this person trust me? I haven't given them a reason to not trust me. We haven't given a reason to trust, right? So we have to add these layers of trust to our business because people decide to trust us or not trust us before they even pick up the phone to call. That is a fact. Okay, so let's talk about a couple ways you can increase trust in your business so that you can get more phone calls, because let's face it, we don't even know who's not calling us because they land on our websites, they hear about our products, they see us on Facebook, and they just never reach out. And they end up buying from someone else, sometimes at a higher price because they feel safer. Let's talk about the first thing that you can do. Trust badges, all right? So this is level 1. And I'm going to add more levels of trust as we go, just like I did in that story that I told you. So let's talk about trust badges. I remember one time, one of my employees, we have our shirts and we have our logo on them. That's the well-dressed portion, right? Well, a software gave us a badge one day. They had these iron-on badges. They had the name of their software company. I guess they just gave it to us as a gift. It really didn't mean much to us, but it said Super Pro on it. So we were a Super Pro for this company. Well, they were iron-on badges. So one of my employees took them home and ironed them onto his shirt. Do you know how many comments he got in homes where people said, oh man, you must be a lead technician, because there was just a little badge there. Elevated him just a little bit. Now, think about your business and how long you've been a business. Do you have any badges that you've won? Have you been in the newspaper? If you have, why is it not on your website? Make sure that you're writing about that when you're writing on social media, as seen in the Georgia Gazette or whatever it is. It doesn't matter how big or how small, someone wrote about you, someone mentioned you, and you want to mention that because that's more social proof. That newspaper article is a tour guide walking with that person. It's showing that someone else in authority is involved with this person. Okay, you see where I'm going here? Have you won a neighborhood award? Have you won a best in business in your town award? Have you won the next door family favorite thing? Whatever it is you've won, dig up every single badge, every single article, every single thing that you've won and put that on your website. Put it on the back of your laptop when you do estimates, whatever it is. Make sure that's front and center. Have you been shown on a social media? Has your work been shown on some big social media site? Put that on your website, as seen on suchandsuch.com. It's just elevating that trust a little bit more. And those are the things that get your website conversions to go higher and your phone calls to go higher. And you don't even know why, right? I'll bet your competitors are doing this and they know why. Okay, so the first thing is trust badges. Very, very important. Now let's talk about your company story next. In that example I shared earlier, in the beginning it was just one single person walking towards someone in a park. Pretty scary, right? But when I added a family, you tend to feel safer. You felt safer. Why? Because you know a little something about that person that's walking towards you now. You know that someone married them. Someone stayed with them. You know they have kids. You know they have a good relationship with their kids because he was holding hands with the kid. Can't be that bad of a guy. He's holding hands with his little boy. He's holding hands with his wife while pushing a stroller. This person has a whole family. They have a lot to lose. They have social proof that someone chose them and someone walks through them through life every day. This is a person that's probably not going to make a crazy risk or do something crazy. Your company, are you putting yourself forward as just a guy in business, just a gal in business? Or do you put on your website, do you put on your social posts photos of you and your family, or photos of you when you were in the military, or photos of you when you used to work for the fire department, or photos of you at this community event? Can they see more about you so that they can make a judgment about what kind of person you are so they can start to feel safer? This is the reason why a lot of marketers will say you need photos of your team. You need photos of the owner so that they can get some sort of company story of who is this person. Once they start to understand more about you, they're putting this information together and saying, now I feel a little bit safer. Now, you're hearing me say this. How many of your competitors' websites have any of this? Most, none. So the level of trust, the bar is really low. So it's really easy to raise your level of trust versus other companies you may be competing against simply because a lot of people aren't doing it. I want to share another story with you. Recently, I was on my anniversary date with my wife and we went up to this city and we stayed a couple nights. We were in this really big, super nice grocery store and they had a fresh market right outside. And this guy approached us and he had a business card and he was a personal chef. Now, very, very interesting that he approached us in a grocery store with an open market with lots of fresh fruits and vegetables. Instantly, I thought, this guy must really do this because, it was the perfect setting. Now, he was dressed in regular clothes. What if he had his chef's coat on with his name? I probably would trust him a lot more. What if he had a grocery cart full of fresh vegetables and his chef's coat with his name? Even more. You see where I'm going? If you can just step it up just a little bit, because people are getting your business cards, they're getting your flyers, they're seeing your ads, and they're deciding if you're trustworthy instantly. Whether you're trustworthy or not has nothing to do with whether they perceive if they can trust you. So you have to give people a reason to trust you. Another thing that people really do when they talk about, do I trust this person, is first, we talked about who are you? What kind of person are you? Do you have a family? Where do you come from? What's the company's history? The next thing is, after they find out you're a good person, is, are you a good business person? Because that's a totally separate thing. That's where the reviews come in. So you see where we use reviews as trust, but that's only on one part of trust. Reviews show that you might be a good business person because they know, hey, he's a nice guy, but is he good at business? Oh, look at all these customers. Good reviews is one way to garner trust. The next is, do you answer the phone? And when you answer the phone, do you answer it on the first ring? Do you know when someone answers, you call a business and it barely rings and they pick up? Do you know that garners trust instantly? When you call a company or a restaurant and it rings 20 times, you're already starting to think your pizza's going to be pretty late. Because in your mind, you think, oh, they're busy, they're swamped, a lot's going on. But when you call and they pick up instantly, it garners a lot of trust. Quick response are very, very important. And if you don't have a way to respond to phone calls, get a way to respond very quickly and try to answer as quickly as possible. If you have these social media outlets like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and people are writing you on there and you don't respond, use technology. There's a lot of softwares out there that will respond the first 2 or 3 messages until you can get to it. What I do is I use a software. It's called Chirp. Actually, the link is in the comments here in the description if you want a link to that. All my Facebook ads, all my ads, they respond by AI very quickly, within seconds. If someone writes in, it responds within seconds. It'll carry on a conversation with the homeowner, sometimes even book an appointment with them until I can get on there and take over the conversation. It happens at 1 in the morning, 4 in the morning, or at lunchtime if I'm just wanting to relax and get my lunch down before I start answering phones again. So responding quickly garners trust very quickly. That's really high on people's list. Now, offering warranties. Alex Hormozy always talks about make an offer that people feel stupid to refuse. When we offer warranties, offering a solid, insane, crazy money-back guarantee almost wipes out any distrust that anyone can give. I mean, why not? If all goes wrong, he's going to give me all my money back. What's the risk? I'll just do it. Offering a crazy warranty is scary for a business, but you know you're the best in business. I know that I'll do a good job. I know that when it's all said and done, no one's going to ask for their money back. But this is just to garner trust. If it happens, it happens, but 9 times out of 10, people don't want their money back. They want the product. And if you can prove that the product is done and done right, and you come back if you do something wrong, nobody's going to ask you for their money back. This is a way to garner trust, to wipe out that fear where you're just a person walking in a park and you don't know why the person doesn't trust you. The warranty is the police officer in the room where that person feels safe. If something happens, I will be protected by this warranty. Now I want to share something with you that's very interesting. This is especially in a lot of non-traditional businesses when it comes to pricing. Parent upfront clear pricing is extremely important. Now, a lot of plumbers, electricians, HVACs, handyman, a lot of them don't have clear pricing. They do a price by the job. Every time they go to a job, they have to calculate that price, which is okay. But you need to have that price written down in a book somewhere where you can actually show someone, here's the price, that these prices and these rates are written down somewhere before you saw that customer. And I'm going to tell you why that's important. And you know, I have a bachelor's degree in business, and in one of my classes, international marketing, it was very interesting because we studied that we have to know the culture of the people that we do business with. So we studied business culture of Japan, business culture of Brazil, business culture of Mexico, all these different things. But we never studied the culture of different ethnic groups and different demographics in the United States. Why not? If you're a business in the United States, you're probably 9 times out of 10 doing business with different cultures in the United States as opposed to selling to someone who's actually in a different country. Now think about this, and there's some that may not know this, but I want to educate you for a second. Baby boomers control the wealth in the United States. They have 70% of all the wealth. And an interesting thing about baby boomers is they don't want to feel like when they walked in, you're giving a different price to each person. Times were different back then, right? And I'm not too far below baby boomers, but I am at the same time. I'm Gen X. But they want to know that you didn't make up the price. And having the price already right there when they walk in, think about when you go to Verizon, they have the prices on the table. No one can make up a price. It gives you comfort that you're getting a good deal, that you're getting the deal anyone would get if they called. Baby boomers want to see that you're not just making up a price and trying to gouge them. If you're charging them $20,000, they might be okay paying $20,000 as long as the guy across the street is also paying $20,000. This is very important when we talk about ethnic groups in the United States, like African Americans. An African American guy, a black guy in his 70s or 80s or mid 60s in the United States absolutely wants to know that you didn't make up the price when you saw him, right? These are cultural things. Why they exist doesn't matter. That they do exist matters. So clear, transparent, upfront pricing is incredibly important, especially when you're talking about older people. Okay, now let's talk about testimonials. Testimonials are different than reviews, and I'm going to tell you why. A review is something that someone left as a response to some work or some business that you did for them. A testimonial is a story that a customer gives that handles a certain objection. What does that mean? There are 4 objections in the world. There is time, price, spouse, and belief. Okay, we're not going to get into that. I have other videos on objections. And in our training, in our business coaching, if you come into our program, we'll teach you how to handle each objection specifically. But this is not an objection video. So let me tell you what a testimonial does. I'll give you an example. Let's say an objection is, will this company come on time, or will I end up taking off work and they're going to be a no-show? You would have a testimonial where someone handles that. So you would film one of your customers and you would say, hey, can you talk about our punctuality? Now in that video, that homeowner may say, when I called them, the appointment was at 9 o'clock and they were here at 9 o'clock sharp. So those testimonials on your website are going to handle all the objections that people are thinking when they land on their site. And those testimonials are going to undo every objection. So you want those done on purpose. If you ever ask someone for a video testimonial, you want to ask them a question that undoes an objection. So if you did the job right the first time, have them talk about that because that's an objection. If price is an objection, have a homeowner talk about the value and how different you were than the other companies they've seen. Testimonials are there to handle objections. When objections are handled, trust is lifted. Okay, now for our last segment of trust. This is one that a lot of people hit me up on social media. When we do reels for the business that I own, I teach how I do what I do in my business, even though I charge people money to do what I'm supposed to do, right? A lot of people will comment and say, why are you teaching people to do it? Now they're going to start doing it and they're going to stop paying us to do it. That's not true. That's not the point. Do you realize that teaching how to do the work shows you to be an expert in the work? Have you ever seen videos where people are cutting hair, barbers, and they're teaching people how to cut hair? They're teaching other barbers. Your first thought is, wow, they're a teacher. They're not just a barber. They teach people. They're a teacher. Levels you up, makes you more credible. Ability raises trust. If you own a plumbing company and you have a channel and you're always on Facebook and people in your community are always seeing you teach, oh, and this is how you do this pipe like this, and make sure you use this type of glue and make sure you use this. Now people are saying, man, this company, they don't just have a company where they do plumbing, they teach other companies how to do plumbing. Trust level raised, right? So hopefully you've learned something. This is the types of things we talk about in my coaching program when I coach businesses. If you're interested in that, go in the description. There's a link. Sign up to have a discovery call with me. We'll talk about your business for 15 to 20 minutes and I'll see where I can help your business. Hopefully you can pick one thing out of this video that will help you raise trust in your community, go out, change the world, make a lot of money. Have a fantastic day. Thanks for watching.